So my friends, the Kingdom Hearts 4 hype is real, but there are many people out there on the internet that are a bit worried that Kingdom Hearts 4 might be losing itself in terms of being Kingdom Hearts, and it might be a little too Final Fantasy-like. Well, I'm here to tell you that you should put your worries at ease. What's up guys, it's HMK once again with another Kingdom Hearts 4 Versus 13 video when it comes to the comparisons and the contrast between these two projects. One that was a massive what if and what could have been, and one that seems to be reality in unreality. Now, to give you guys a bit of a primer, there's a lot of people on the internet, both Kingdom Hearts fan and Final Fantasy fan, that are a bit abrasive towards Kingdom Hearts 4 due to its look, Sora in Quadratum. And we know, if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan that has been keeping up with the story up until now, we know why he looks like that in Quadratum, why he looks kind of realistic, kind of Final Fantasy-esque. It's due to the world being based on a realistic sense of modern day Tokyo and being unreality, something unlike we've never seen before in Kingdom Hearts, being the basis for Hykariemr, which seems to be a little bit of a lingering will of Versus 13. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, and that is why he looks like that. Nomura has already confirmed that if Sora were to leave Quadratum, he would look like how he did in Kingdom Hearts 3, or I should say how Donald and Goofy looked in the Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer. But even with that being said, and the way that Sora looks, and the music, and the overall feel of Kingdom Hearts 4, a lot of people still think that, okay, we're getting a little too bit realistic for Kingdom Hearts' own nature and Kingdom Hearts' own flavor when it comes to how it is against that of Final Fantasy, which, you know, Kingdom Hearts does borrow a lot of flavors from. And fans are worried that Kingdom Hearts might lose its identity if we're going to dip our toes into this realistic realm of waters. And I'm here to tell you that that really shouldn't be the case when we're looking at what we're dealing with, that Kingdom Hearts 4 is deriving from, undoubtedly, Final Fantasy Versus 13. Nomura can deny it all he wants, but we can see right away from Hykariemr, from Kingdom Hearts Rewind, from Melody and Memory, and Kingdom Hearts 4 that there are a lot of lingering ideas that Nomura wants to incorporate from Versus 13 into Kingdom Hearts. And that's another big level of complaints when it comes to Kingdom Hearts fans, Final Fantasy fans, when we're looking at the future of Kingdom Hearts, especially Kingdom Hearts 4, saying that, hey, Nomura shouldn't really like integrate his project, you know, Nomura's revenge, he's just throwing a tantrum, he's just doing all this stuff in order to revitalize his project that was Versus 13. But if you were there back in the day, because I was there when it comes to, you know, everything that's been going on with Kingdom Hearts and with the development cycle of Versus 13 back in 2006, coming out until 2016 with Final Fantasy 15, people had the same exact complaint inversed when it comes to Final Fantasy Versus 13. People were complaining that it was going to be too Kingdom Hearts-like for Final Fantasy. And if you guys don't remember and didn't know, Final Fantasy Versus 13 was being developed by Nomura and his team of Kingdom Hearts personnel that were responsible for the Kingdom Hearts games. And that game was going to borrow a lot of ideas, and I mean a lot of ideas, from Kingdom Hearts. So back in the day, Final Fantasy fans were actually really scared, and they were complaining about Versus 13 being too Kingdom Hearts-like, because of course, you know, when it comes to Final Fantasy's own battle system, it's not quite too action RPG that Kingdom Hearts is known for. It was more like ATB, active time battles. And that Final Fantasy Versus 13, just like how it became 15, was going to be very action RPG oriented, much like Kingdom Hearts. And as we see with Final Fantasy 16, it looks very action RPG oriented, even though it seems to have a lot of flavors from Devil May Cry this time around. So in many degrees, Nomura was going to take a lot of flavors, a lot from what he knew and what he learned from Kingdom Hearts, and integrate them into Final Fantasy Versus 13 to share a darker vision that he had for the series. And a lot of people, a lot of analysts, and myself included, believe that it was kind of the point that Final Fantasy Versus 13 was Nomura's way of integrating Kingdom Hearts elements into a Final Fantasy game that he knew he never could in Kingdom Hearts due to its maturity. Basically, he had a lot of ideas that he wanted to put into Kingdom Hearts, but it was a little too mature and a little too dark, so he wanted to go down an avenue in which he could explore those darker aspects, and Final Fantasy was definitely the wave. So honestly, repurposing all of those elements that he really couldn't, convey in Final Fantasy Versus 13 when it became 15 and putting them back into Kingdom Hearts would be seamless and would make a lot of sense, and I feel it wouldn't lose its identity at all when we're talking about Kingdom Hearts 4, because a lot of what he seems he wanted to integrate back then from Versus 13 were elements that he was, messing around with in Kingdom Hearts. With Versus 13 being developed by the Kingdom Hearts team, taking those elements back with his team back, with all of his ideas back from Kingdom Hearts, from Versus 13 back into Kingdom Hearts 4. And you could have seen that from the beginning when it comes to Kingdom Hearts 3, Yozora, Verum Rex, and Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind. And at the end of the day, I really want to let you guys know that there's nothing wrong with that. Those were Nomura's own ideas that he really wanted to put into Final Fantasy Versus 13, and he couldn't. So he really shouldn't be sandbagged as a designer, as a developer, as an artist for wanting to have ideas that were originally his, that he himself either innovated or got inspired by the original medium, thus being Kingdom Hearts, over into Final Fantasy Versus 13 to bring it back from Versus 13 into Kingdom Hearts. And sure, there's a whole deal with the sense of realism when it comes to Sora's own design and Quadranum and all that good jazz, but Kingdom Hearts has tackled that before, not particularly with Sora himself, but with other Disney films, such as Tron, such as Pirates of the Caribbean, etc, etc. And with Kingdom Hearts having such a strong connection with Final Fantasy, I feel that this is going to be a good step in the path of continuing evolution of the Kingdom Hearts series and brand. So looking back on the whole idea of Kingdom Hearts 4 and people's fear that Kingdom Hearts is going to lose its identity with this next step into Quadranum, into the Lost Master arc, obviously having flavors and ideas and traits from Versus 13, making it, something else, something new, something different from what people are used to, I would not be too frightened. Because looking back on it, Nomura literally got these ideas from Kingdom Hearts originally to put into a Final Fantasy game, and Final Fantasy Versus 13 was going to have a lot of flavors, a lot of reverse ideas from Kingdom Hearts originally, so for that to come back home to Kingdom Hearts, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal in terms of people's own fear of the loss of identity that Kingdom Hearts could potentially experience with 4. It's not going to happen. Remember, Noctis was originally created to be the reverse opposite of Sora in terms of design, in terms of personality, and in terms of name. And honestly, seeing Nomura wanting to revisit these unfulfilled ideas for the future of Kingdom Hearts has me super pumped, super hyped, and super excited. But I want to know what you guys think on the whole perspective of Kingdom Hearts 4 and its identity moving forward, the Lost Master arc, and the flavors that it's getting from Versus 13, and how Versus 13 was presented back in the day when it comes to the Kingdom Hearts team, the Kingdom Hearts elements, and more. Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below, and be sure to like, share, and most importantly subscribe to HMK for more Kingdom Hearts videos every week. Big thanks to my Patreon supporters for helping making this video happen, and if you want to find out how you can support HMK for just $1 a month, check it out in the description box below. Alright guys, until the next video, this has been HMK, and I'll check you guys later.
So you haven't subscribed to HMK yet? Don't piss Xemnas off.